Today, we're taking a look at WinWing's first venture into affordable flight sim peripherals, an all-in-one flight stick called the Ursa Minor Fighter. With this, WinWing brings technology from their biggest budget items into a less expensive form factor, a more premium flight stick than some of the other cheaper entry-level solutions in this area. But what exactly makes it more premium? Well, to put things into perspective, the Logitech G Extreme 3D Pro has 10 buttons on the grip, 6 buttons on the base, and 4 separate axes that control pitch, roll, yaw, and throttle, all for $35 US. The Thrustmaster T16000M FCS has a measly 8 buttons on the grip, but a respectable 12 buttons on the base, and the same 4 separate axes for pitch, roll, yaw, and throttle, all for $80 US. Now, the Ursa Minor Fighter? It has 29 buttons on the flight stick grip alone. 29! It has 1, 2, 3, 4 5-way hats, 1, 2, 3 single push buttons, and if we turn it around, 1 more on the bottom, a dual stage trigger, a 2-direction secondary trigger, and not just the same 4 axes for throttle, pitch, roll, and yaw, but also a thumbstick with a center click. It also offers an additional 14 buttons on the base, putting this whole flight stick at a grand total of 43 buttons and 6 axes, all for less than $165 US when on a discount. And the features don't stop there. It also has a built-in rumble motor for customizable haptic feedback, anti-slip silicone pads to keep it secure on your table for desktop use, or if you have a mounting solution, there are 2 M5 screw holes. There is also access to the recentering springs and dampening adjustments for pitch and roll, and of course, a USB-C port for connecting to your PC with a provided USB-A to USB-C cable. Needless to say, WinWing's Ursa Minor Fighter certainly does bring a lot to the table, but while all of that sounds good on paper, how does it actually hold up when being used? So, in 4 rounds of testing, we will find out if the Ursa Minor Fighter has what it takes to comfortably fly the most difficult helicopter in DCS, the OH-6A Loach.
Oh, don't break the plane, don't break the helicopter.
Its precision in air-to-air refueling in the F-16C Viper.
There we go, transfer complete.
Its efficiency at rippling off ×6 AGM-65 Mavericks and the A-10C Warthog.
Holy crap, there's haptic feedback, I forgot about that.
And finally, its viability in a dogfight using the FA-18C Hornet against the highest difficulty SU-27 Ace AI.
Nice, splash.
Now, let's see what this all-in-one flight stick is really made of.
Alrighty, here we go. And let's take off into a hover. Slowly increase the collective. Bit of left pedal, left cyclic. Little too much, there we go. Okay. For now, airborne, let's focus on maintaining a hover. Alright. Actually, not bad. I feel like I'm finding that the twist axis is a little gooey, it's not really stiction. It feels more like, I don't know, like just goo, like the kind of stuff that if you were to just play with the twist axis for a while, it'll just go away. Like even right now, just having wiggled it just that tiny little bit there, that feels like that was just enough to work that kind of like stickiness out, and now it's actually not really present at all. So maybe it's not a big issue. And overall, this is actually performing very well. I'm able to maintain a hover just fine. That little bit of like quote-unquote stiction that I was feeling is mostly gone now. Yeah, not bad. Not bad for the hover test.
What you just saw were my first live impressions of the Ursa Minor Fighter.
Twitch.tv/2off.
And I personally think it's important to see these kinds of live reactions when you're looking to buy a product, because nothing really shows ease of use like a first impression. Now, next up is my forward flight test for something that really shouldn't be a problem.
Alright, so the next test I like to do is what I call the forward flight test. It's very simple. You just increase the collective to the point where you're not, well, 1, you're not breaking your engine, but 2, you have to apply enough forward cyclic in order to maintain a straight and level flight at high speed. So let's go ahead and do that now. And we're approximately there. So now what I want to do is I want to take my hand and only hold this using the top of the flight stick. Because what has happened in the past is, because I'm not planting my hand onto the wrist rest, this means that the springs in the base are not so tense that's going to cause the base to come up off the desk just because I'm not planting my hand on it to keep it stable. Oh, speaking of keeping it stable, okay, don't break the plane, don't break the aircraft, not the plane, the helicopter. Okay, we're good. Okay, yeah, so overall, not bad at all.
Okay, so the point I was trying to make is that holding the stick forward doesn't result in the base lifting up off the desk. Normally, you wouldn't think this is worth mentioning, but apparently it is. Now, let's put our wrist to the ultimate test.
And for the last test in the helo portion, this is going to be the maneuverability test. A lot of people complain that one of the things they don't like when it comes to twist sticks is just how uncomfortable it is to use the twist axis on a stick. So what this maneuverability test is going to, well, test is just how fatiguing it is to constantly be going from left to right while going in between these 4 buildings. So let's see how that goes and if my wrist gets tired as we do this. We're also going to try to make sure we stay at around building height, so right around here as we maneuver through these buildings. And this is going to give us a nice mix of left and right twist. So far, not too bad. It's pretty controllable. Showing that there's pretty good sensors inside this this flight stick for all axes. Now, I will say the twist axis does feel a little tense for my own liking. Now, everyone has their own personal preferences. I would like to have the option to adjust the tension in the twist axis, but I don't believe that's actually an option just based on what I saw underneath the base. Pretty sure we can only replace the springs for the pitch and roll and not the twist. At least, not without taking apart the grip. And we're coming up at the very end of this maneuverability test, and not bad. Like I said, I would like the tension to be a little bit on the lighter side, but honestly, I would be able to do that for a full 2-hour session. That wasn't terrible.
So wrist comfort is actually a common complaint people have when it comes to twist sticks. And while you can lock the twist and use rudder pedals instead, I personally don't think that's necessary, much like how unnecessary the next test's difficulty is.
Cleared contact.
Alright, we are cleared contact, and if you notice, we're in quite the unique position behind the tanker here. Because air-to-air refueling tends to be one of the most difficult things you can do in DCS when it comes to fine precision flying. So what better way to show off just how good a device is by trying to do that very thing, but, well, inverted. And what you'll notice is that I actually have my hand planted on the base itself instead of the stick. This allows me to do a lot more fingertip flying than I would have been able to up here.
Contact.
And there's contact. Now we just need to keep our forward and aft under control and keep ourselves at just the right distance away from the tanker.
Now, while it does look like I'm drifting around a lot, that's just because I'm fast forwarding this part of the flights. Of course, I still disconnect anyways.
Oh, a little bit too, yep, just a little too far forward, but we reconnected.
You're taking fuel.
So while not a perfect refuel just because of that super brief disconnect, I still managed to top off completely while inverted here.
Transfer complete. Disconnect.
There we go, transfer complete. And just like that, we were able to air-to-air refuel inverted with the WinWing Ursa Minor Fighter. So all in all, once again, not bad.
So the Ursa Minor Fighter's Hall effect sensors are really showing their quality with this air-to-air refueling test, but what good are great axis controls if you can't fire off a bunch of Mavericks all at once? Let's take a look at rippling off ×6 AGM-65s using HOTAS commands alone, and with a bit of surprisingly satisfying haptic feedback.
Ooh, there's haptic feedback. I forgot about that. Holy crap.
It's a little hard to show here, but every time I fire off a Maverick, I'm feeling a slight rumble in the stick. Keep in mind, it's not legit force feedback where the stick moves on its own, but instead it's more like when you fire a gun in a first-person shooter and feel the rumble in your console controller. Also, it's worth noting that I made sure to do at least 2 things during this test. The first, I'm not using a single modifier for any of this. And second, I'm only using the hats and buttons on the grip. This should really hammer home what's possible with the sheer number of inputs available on this flight stick.
There we go. ×6 AGM-65 Maverick Ripple. So let's see how well they do. 1, 2, almost simultaneous. That's pretty cool. 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 shacks. Not bad.
Unsurprisingly, the Ursa Minor Fighter passed this HOTAS test with flying colors. The number of buttons available on the stick is just insane. And it's not just the buttons, but also the added thumbstick as well. This is perfect for things like TDC Slew and frees up 4 binds for anything else, which is an absolute win for something as complicated as the A10C Warthog.
Ooh, you actually feel it right now as the AOA gets too high for the A10.
And right there, I felt haptic feedback even as I pulled too hard on the stick. This simulated the feel of buffeting on the wings as my AOA increased. Now, I hear you, while all that is cool, the real question for any true A10C enjoyer is what happens when you fire the GAU-8 Avenger.
Ooh,
Pull up.
that feels really nice. Feeling the rumble of the gun in your hand as you fire
Altitude.
it? That, okay, not gonna lie, that's kind of sick.
Yeah, it's satisfying. Now, of course, playing the close air support role isn't for everyone, so to finish off all this testing, I thought it would be best to try out the Ursa Minor Fighter's namesake, dogfighting. And I know originally I said I would be flying the FA-18C Hornet against a Su-27 flanker, but considering the Ursa Minor Fighter is kind of modeled after a flanker grip, I thought it would be better to fly the flanker against the Hornet.
Alrighty, and here we are in the Su-27 flanker. We are wearing a VR headset, so do keep that in mind should you decide to pick up this this flight stick. It is a little difficult to find a spot to put camera control on it, and while you can make it work, for example on the trim hat, you'll likely need to use a modifier in order to make that really work for you. So in my case, because it's a bit easier to record a video with, I'm using my VR headset instead. This should be a bit more entertaining. Also, I almost never use the Su-27 flanker, so this is going to be a bit of an experiment for me. I'm not entirely sure how I should be flying this thing. Jesus, shooting at the merge. But I do know I'm going to want to use that ASC Direct Cobra button during key moments. Not all the time, but when it really counts, I need to use it. I'm not going to use it just yet. But when it looks like I'm about to overshoot, that's when I'll pull it. If you notice, we have a green reticle on our head here. That is our very simple, HMD that is found on all flankers. Allows you to take eye-off boresight shots with the high maneuverability Fox 2s that are found on the flanker. Also, if you notice, I'm not going for any shots as he passes my nose, because what I really want to do here is I want to maneuver solidly behind him and get in position for a good gun skill, a good clean gun skill. Okay, here we go. I'm going to hit the Cobra button. I can stay behind him. Yeah, there we go. He's having to try to save himself from crashing in the water, so we'll use this opportunity to circle back around on him. Take a look at that. He is super slow, about to hit the water. You can actually see the reflections of his afterburner skimming the water. Alright, here we go. Cobra button off, and we are now in a fantastic position to go in for a gun skill. A full burner, and all we have to do is pull him into the HUD, and... oh, got some sparks there. Wait, did we kill him? There's no way we got a pilot kill. There's no shot. Dude,
Minimum
no way.
speed. Minimum speed. Minimum speed.
Oh my god, I think we got a pilot kill. We did! Hell yeah, splash!
As you can see, the Ursa Minor Fighter was able to keep up just fine in a dogfight. Now, of course, keep in mind, everything you saw today was performed by someone with years of experience in DCS with various types of devices. everything from expensive sticks and throttles to very cheap and accessible gamepad controllers. I mean, you name it, I've probably used it extensively. So while the Ursa Minor Fighter will not immediately make you an ace in the sky, after all these tests, I can confidently say it has everything you'll ever need to get yourself to that point. And honestly, it has an incredible price to performance ratio. It is rare to find something this well designed for less than $150 US. This is the flight stick I wish existed a decade ago. That way I never would have spent as much as I have already to get to this point. Now, I realize not everyone has money to just drop on DCS just to give it a shot. So if you have a gamepad controller and want to give DCS a go, feel free to click this video here where I show you everything you need to know in order to get yourself started with a gamepad in DCS.